you don't switch from defense to offense, right? You attack in a way that is defensive. You attack in a way that the counterattack is already cut off, so that when you lose the ball, you immediately win it back. Like people talk about that, and they don't know what the hell it means. They're just talking out their ass, right? Like when you set up what's called a counter press. So the game has a progression, a press, and behind it, when you attack in a way that minimizes defense, that minimizes the counterattack value, is progression, press, counter press. The counter press is already set up in the way that you attack them, right? You can't, if you're in the corners and trying to cross the ball, it's very hard to counter press, right? In America, we defend the small spaces and attack big spaces. Futsal players attack the small spaces and defend as big as possible, right? When you defend big, when you win the ball, you're already spread out, right? When you attack small, when you lose the ball, you're already pressured. So there is no distinction between attack and defense. It's all the same. There's no transition. You've already transitioned in the way you designed your attack, right? And that's why we think that we can transition, because we're athletic enough, that we can transition with Brazil and Portugal and France. They know this backwards and forwards. They're not transitioning. They're attacking in a way that has already triggered your press and then their counter press. So they're 2 steps ahead. They already made sure that you're not pressing from advantageous spots in the field. And they've already made sure that even if you do somehow win the ball, they're counter pressing already. Defense and attack are all the same. Sure.
A while back you were talking to us about how if like when the players are yelling at you, and sometimes you end up getting too stressed out, and you end up getting shut down in the game. So instead of like the players yelling at you, just mainly you're making constant mistakes and you can't react enough to recover from those mistakes.
Right.
What is the best way to be able to get in that flow state where you're constantly feeling the game, you're no longer thinking about your moves too much, you're just in the zone?
So you have to study and you have to sight read. It's the same exercise as music, right? So when you look at a sheet of music, it triggers a response in your brain, right? So when you play soccer, you have to look at the shape of the defense. You have to look at the space on the field, right? And then you have to look at the ball. We do the reverse. We look at the ball, then we look at the space in the field as Americans. And we never look at the shape of the defense, right? So you have to reverse it, right? It's sort of like, it's like reading sheet music, right? But obviously it's more dynamic. You have to look at the shape, at the space. You look at the shape and the space first, and the ball will appear, right? Like if you look at the shape and the space, it'll tell you where the ball is and where it's going to go, right? You only look at the ball to adjust your touch, right? And for instance, when you look at the shape, when you look at the defense, right? You look at the shape of the defense. You're looking to position yourself for weakness, in the weakness of the defense, right? And then you're only looking at the ball to adjust the passing angle for your player, right? So if you look at our blog on our website, midwestfc.com, you're going to see log entries about the game is not about space and timing. It's about pitch control. It's about geometry. It's about the shape of the offense versus the shape of the defense. And optimizing that for the pass to be completed, for the ball carrier to feel comfortable, right? If you're constantly looking at the ball and you don't see the shape of the defense and you don't see the shape of the offense, you're not in the game. You're not reading the game. And you get good at reading the game by understanding it's sight reading. And sight reading soccer is easy. You have to count to 3. How many defenders are positioned to take the ball? There's never 4 defenders on the ball. There's 1, 2, or 3. And then that dictates what you should do. So if you can count to 3, you can play soccer, basically.